How you doing, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and as you see, we're back at it talking about the amazing stuff. Folks, 3 years later, we're back at it discussing Trevor Bauer, a once coveted MLB star in which the Mets did all they could to try to land, to now a player that's anything but coveted at the MLB level. Why exactly is this? Why are the New York Metropolitans most certainly not going to go hard after Trevor Bauer this offseason? And why us Mets fans should not believe for a second otherwise is what I'll be breaking down in today's video. I've been long asked by many of you fellow fans, Wardy, should the Mets go after Trevor Bauer this offseason? And my response then and now has always been no. And all the reasons are separate from the off-the-field antics that he had to deal with and go through. That is the main reason as to why he's currently not in Major League Baseball today. So for anyone jumping the gun and saying, oh great, Wardy doesn't want Trevor Bauer because he hates him, farthest thing from the truth. I have no personal ill will with Trevor Bauer whatsoever. But again, the reasons as to why he will not be a New York Metropolitan are many, and we're going to break down exactly why they are. So of course, I want to know your initial thoughts, reactions, comments, questions, and concerns down below, because don't get me wrong, Trevor Bauer has definitely benefited the channel in some ways. One of the biggest live shows we ever did on the channel, the first massive live stream of over 50,000 people watching in total, was the Trevor Bauer sweepstakes 3 years ago, to the point where even the company that he helps represent and, owns in part, that being there at not Impact, I'm actually blanking. I think is it Impact, or it could be something else, whatever it is, no less, they ended up chiming in to the live chat, which was very cool, and I appreciated that at the time. However, we fast forward 3 years later now, Trevor Bauer at the young age of 32 is trying to take his MLB talents back to the MLB level after having a very respectable and one and potentially only year in the MPB, in which, again, he put up very solid numbers. And if you look at the numbers and if you look at the production with Trevor Bauer, you think to yourself, why shouldn't the Mets at minimum be doing their heavy due diligence on trying to bring back a guy that for a while they certainly love the idea of landing? What has changed since then? You look at Bauer's stat line down below, a 2.76 ERA in the MPB. His K per 9 was, 2 to 3 down from the last time he was in the MLB in 2021 with the Dodgers, but still a 9K per 9 or 2 or so walks per 9, a very solid whip. Again, 8 a solid amount of innings. Lots to like about Trevor Bauer, but why are the Mets not going to land him? Here's the thing. The things that you don't like about Trevor Bauer likely outweigh the potential in landing him even on a short-term deal. But let's start with the obvious, okay? Let's get the elephant out of the room in case you weren't paying attention, right? And that is Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen's first true bidding war was Trevor Bauer 3 off seasons ago. The Mets lost out to the LA Dodgers, in which they, unfortunately, it's funny how things come full circle again, happened this offseason 3 years later, which Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and both times you could rightfully argue the Mets were used. And the Mets were used so terribly in a fashion where we all thought the guy was going to be a Met because he wanted to roll out the red carpet for himself. Trevor Bauer, in case you've been living under a rock, very much known for his personality, known for not having to filter. He doesn't hold things back. And in many ways I respect, and certain ways I don't respect, especially as a fan, led to believe that Trevor Bauer is going to be a New York Met, just to find out that his website jumped the gun on releasing merch for his announcement, and in part he felt obligated for a second to go ahead and make the decision to go to the Mets. Then after figuring things out more so with his agent and by himself, he decided to go to the LA Dodgers, a little less money, but knowing he was going to a team that he long idolized growing up as a Cali native. Similar to Yamamoto ultimately going to the Dodgers, a team that he grew up idolizing supposedly. As much as the pinstripes mattered with the Bronx, it wasn't enough. He ended up going to the Dodgers. We see those similarities. So that was the first true bidding war for Steve Cohen. It didn't go in his favor, and it was quite embarrassing, truthfully. It was another LOL Mets type situation where you thought you had something, you didn't. Thankfully, it worked in the Mets' favor since then, because Trevor Bauer has went on to only play 17 games of that contract that is now done. And in doing so, during those 17 games, he was very productive for Trevor Bauer at the MLB level. But since then, when that scandal first came out, all those accusations, that's how things have taken a turn. And I'd also like to make one thing abundantly clear. Trevor Bauer, the reason why he hasn't been in baseball is in large part for him exposing Rob Manfred and MLB for their sticky substance issue over the years, especially because of the long connection between Bauer and Garrett Cole that goes back to their time at UCLA. They never been friends. They never had a good relationship, and especially seeing Cole's success that he had during his time with the Houston Astros using Spider Tack, that really bothered Trevor Bauer. He made it public. He called out so much in the public eye on what the MLB is not cracking down on, and he said, you know what, I'm going to F around and win a Cy Young, doing exactly what everyone everyone else is doing, manipulating things and winning big dollars, because Garrett Cole got that monster contract in part because of using the sticky substance during his time in Houston with JV and others and having great success in doing so. So he goes and wins the Cy Young with the Cincinnati Reds in the short 2020 season, calling a Mickey Mouse Award, whatever you want to call it, but he still won the award, shoved it right in Manfred's face, was doing exactly that to begin his Dodgers tenure. So soon as the MLB was able to pin something on Bauer that was un-MLB related, that's where they were able to have the free range and have him out of the game for as long as they wanted, even if he was found not guilty, because what was accused of him versus what reality has been since then are very different things, right? I understand that there's still some question marks, some gray area regarding Bauer in that personal situation that's outside of the sport. However, in large part, the MLB was able to take advantage during that situation and penalize them in their own way, because that is separate from the court of law. So they made their decisions. Bauer's been out of the game for a while because of that reason, and I don't have an ill will with Bauer. I of course throughout that time was led to believe certain things. I feel that what has been dealt to him has been in large part unfortunate, but what is not unfortunate is the Mets more than likely lack of willingness to even consider someone like him now at this point in his career. What has not only happened since then, but everything that comes with Trevor Bauer, as talented of a player as he is, there is most certainly baggage. And for a Mets team that's currently in a position that is not having World Series aspirations next year, is going to be taking more so short-term options likely for the rotation. You know, there's a plethora of guys that can provide similar numbers to what Trevor Bauer can give you on a short-term deal next year. Why go out of your way to try to bring in someone that can certainly be a head case to the point that distracts not only the fans, not only the players, but even the media? And this Mets team has done a fantastic job throughout my entire lifetime and the lifetimes of many, and being in headlines for the wrong reasons. Justified or not, that has been a continued problem. So yes, let's bring back in Trevor Bauer after everything that went poorly the first go around trying to land him, seeing what he's done, or whether rather lack thereof, at the MLB level since then, being the first team to commit to Trevor Bauer at the MLB level since his accusations. Oh yes, that makes perfect sense for a Mets team in the media eye and everything that they're trying to build for 2024 and beyond. It has sustainability, credibility. This is not how you do it. And this is someone who, again, firmly believes that a lot of things that happened to Bauer were wrongdoings and he did not deserve said things. So if I'm saying that as well, goes to show you that this has nothing to do with, you know, a personal feeling about Bauer whatsoever. This comes down to how much sense does it make for the Mets, and aside from the Mets' need of starting pitching, it makes very little. It truly does. And as we get down here through other points that, again, further validates my reasoning here, you know, Bauer's off-field antics, you know, correlate with his on-field ability. And what I mean by that is he's known for loving attention. This is something that Bauer's always enjoyed. He loves making his content, all these things. While they aren't necessarily bad, these are also factors that can come into play and really separate himself versus it being a team game versus an eye game. You know, that was something that kind of felt evident early on in his Dodgers tenure prior to all the accusations coming out. I firmly believe that that'll hold true wherever he lands. And as someone who's a content creator, I commend him, and I think those are great things, but there's also negativity that can come with it. And given Bauer and his lack of willingness to hold back on how he truly feels about everything, we've seen his emotions burst in the past in the clubhouse with numerous clubs. We've seen how clubs have handled said things, which is exactly why Trevor Bauer hasn't really been on a club long term. You know, you look at his time in Cleveland, it was wishy-washy up and down with the numbers. Once he started using the sticky stuff, it certainly helped. Cincy, big part of the success there too, with Sonny Gray and others throughout the pitching lab at the time, Luis Castillo, the list goes on and on. But now we advance here to present day, and he's thrived off of this sticky substance, and that's another thing to keep in mind. He had that success at the MLB level. Now that's cracked down. How's he going to perform back at the MLB level? Missing game for a couple years. Batters are only catching up. The heaters better. The velo is dropping slightly since Bauer was last in the league. And he more than likely, was using some type of sticky substance at the MPB level, because the rules are not the same applied at the MLB level. Just more things to keep in mind when evaluating Bauer. And again, you really think Steve Cohen is going to be the first team to give Trevor Bauer a short-term chance at the MLB level for potential of inking a long-term deal the imposing offseason after? Again, I find it very hard to believe that we're going to find the New York Metropolitans in that category of clubs to have a willingness to do such a thing for a player in Bauer's caliber, regardless of how talented Trevor Bauer is. Let's also not forget, most of Trevor Bauer's success at the MLB level has come in large part because of the substances that he was using. Yes, players have adjusted on the fly, and they are continuing to, and not all of them are having a great success level. It's been up and down, like Lucas Giolito, who the Mets have strong interest in, reportedly from Mike Puma of the New York Post over the past 24 hours. Giolito's an example of a guy who still has not been the same since the sticky substance breakdown has happened. So could that be the same here with Trevor Bauer? Would it be different? We may never know, but one thing I know for certain is that regardless of what many fans may believe or want, putting personal feelings aside, there are valid reasons on the field, in the clubhouse, as to why Trevor Bauer will not be a New York Metropolitan for 2024. Could he be a New York Met before his career ends? Anything's possible, absolutely. But given the current time frame for what the Mets are trying to build for 2024, for Steve Cohen and what he's trying to build, where Trevor Bauer is also at in his career, I just do not foresee this being a match one way or another, especially when you look at the amount of short-term free agent starting pitching options still available in said market that can provide you just as much offensive production, just as much pitching production. Might not be as dominant, might not have as high of a ceiling as Bauer, but can eat innings for you with hopefully a 3.5 to 4 ERA next season in this rotation, and you're not going to get all the potential risks, head cases that can be involved when working with someone like Trevor Bauer, because he's unique in his own right. He's always going to be unique, and that's great for him, and I wish him well. But given how things, that bridge basically burned a couple years ago, I expected to stay that way, and I do not anticipate things to be different just because it's been a couple years and the guy's been out of the league. I do not believe that will change the viewpoint now on the Mets. If anything, it's been a negative one since then, and certainly not a positive. So Mets fans, whoever you're a fan of, I definitely want to know how you guys are feeling about this. Are you in favor? Are you against Trevor Bauer? Whatever your thoughts are, make sure to let me know. It really does mean a lot, guys. And as always, again, even if you were highly against what I was saying here, I always want to know your viewpoints, because this has nothing to do with how I personally feel about Trevor Bauer. I do feel that he's been wrong in many ways at the MLB level, but that does not change the fact of the impact that he would have, and the potential risks, in my opinion, wholeheartedly do outweigh the reward as a short-term fit. I think if this was a long-term fit and Bauer had all this hype similar to Yamamoto in the sense where he's just this uber talent, they're inking the prime of his career on a mid to long-term deal, and yes, he's had some issues in the past in which they have either been justified or not, that's a different discussion. But a likely one-year deal for Trevor Bauer, just hoping, praying that a team gives him a chance for 2024, there's no reason for the New York Metropolitans to go out and be that team, and I will stand by that until proven otherwise. If the Mets do sign Trevor Bauer, I will look like an idiot. Again, it wouldn't surprise me. I've looked worse on this channel, but that'll be up there. So until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this, Mets fans. Stay tuned. We will likely be live later today, if not tomorrow at earliest. So stay tuned for all the latest Mets coverage here in Metsland. And as always, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.